Hi everyone and welcome to the fourth episode of the Sack Race Weekly. I'm Jack Kitson and I'm joined by Simon from Empty Seats. And as always, we've got three topics for you. We've got the future of Scott Parker at Fulham, whether Pep Guardiola will sign a new contract at Man City. And then we dip into League Two where we've got a shocker, a sacking and a stunner. Right, on to section one. We're going to look at Scott Parker at Fulham. Fulham are rock bottom of the table. They haven't won since they returned to the Premier League. They've only won 1 point and Parker's got the third worst managerial loss percentage of any manager in the Premier League that's ever managed 15 or more games. Simon, straight off the bat, if Fulham lose to West Brom, is it curtains to Scott Parker?
Big question to start off with. I don't think it's curtains. I think he will get a bit more time. I think Fulham have learnt from what they did in the Premier League last time around where Parker got the job at the end of the season, but of course they had Ranieri and a couple of other managers in there as well in one season, didn't they, which didn't help matters at all. So for Fulham, they need a bit of consistency. They saw what Scott Parker could do last season. I think he did well to get them promoted, win the playoffs. That was huge. I don't think many people expected them to win the playoffs when they got into them. So I think he'll get a little bit more time, but they do need to start getting results on the pitch. You have to say they've played pretty well in some games. I mean, against Sheffield United, Mitrovic missed a penalty, had a shocker, missed about 3 sitters. They probably should have won that game, and there's been some other games they should have picked up some more points in. So I think he'll get a few more weeks at the very least, Scott Parker.
He's currently the 2-1 favourite for the sack. Of course, Fulham have a very trigger-happy history in the Premier League. We saw in 2018-19, Savica Jokanovic and Claudio Ranieri go, then Scott Parker, of course, came in. And before that, in the previous season in the Premier League, Martin Jol left, René Meulenstein left, and then Felix Magath and his cheesy methods came in, but they were relegated, of course, that year as well. On a more positive note, what's impressed you about Scott Parker? Maybe more last season when they won promotion, but what makes you think he can turn things around?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to turn your positivity into negativity, Jack, because I think Scott Parker underachieved last season with Fulham, which sounds ridiculous because they won the playoffs, but that Fulham squad was the best in the division, in the Championship. They should have won the title. They didn't. They were way off it in the end. They finished 4th. They got beaten by Brentford to 3rd place. They did well to win the playoffs, but that was the minimum goal for a Championship team with the likes of Mitrovic in, Knockaert. It was an absolutely insane squad that should have won the league, really. They were way off that. So from a negative point of view, Parker should have done better. However, he inherited a squad that was on the way down or big wages. Some players didn't want to be there. It's so difficult to get a Premier League side that's relegated straight back up. And credit to him, he managed to achieve that. He managed to turn the culture of the club around from a losing mentality to a winning one. And the players really seem to have taken to him and really seem to want to play for him. So there's a lot of positives. Obviously, his playing style is really good on the eye, nice passing style, quick forwards, balls into Mitrovic. So it's good to watch and hopefully he can start getting the results in the Premier League because he showed he could do it in the Championship, even though he did have the strongest squad in the division.
Will he still be in a job by the time we film episode 5?
Yes.
Right, on to section 2, Pep Guardiola at Man City. There's rumours swirling everywhere that he's potentially not going to sign a new deal. His contract expires next July. Simply, Simon, will he be there next season?
It's really hard to say, isn't it? I think he probably will be. I think next season may well indeed be his last season at Manchester City. And even then, we're into the longest period he's ever spent at one club. I think it was 4 years at Barcelona and 4 years at Bayern Munich, if I remember correctly. And that's a long time for a manager. He likes to have a sabbatical in between these big jobs. So I think we could get one more season of Pep in the Premier League. He'll want to win the Premier League title back. He'll certainly want to win the Champions League and prove he can do it without Messi. But I think it's going to be a big summer for Man City and it's going to be a big end to the season. It's a really tough one to call. Pep Guardiola and Man City look like their relationship is coming to an end slightly.
You mentioned Messi there. I personally think that his movements are crucial to Pep staying. If he gets confirmation that Messi will come to Man City, then I think he'll sign on the dotted line. If he doesn't, then I don't know. It's not looking 100% promising that he would.
I completely agree with you there. I completely agree with you. I think we saw with Messi this summer, if he'd have joined Man City, that would have been perfect for Pep. He wants to manage him. Messi wants to play for him. I think the big turning point in that on Messi is that the Barcelona president left this week, and it certainly seems that Messi's won that kind of power battle in Barcelona as we expected. So I don't think I'd expect Messi to leave Barcelona anytime soon now that the president's left and things are sort of changing around him. I think it was a one summer only thing, and I think Man City just missed out.
So if Pep did leave, do you think he's more likely to take another sabbatical, as you mentioned earlier? He used it for great use back in 2012 when he left Barcelona. Or do you think he'll have one eye on a national team? Because the World Cup is coming up in 2022. So he could be looking at maybe the England job. Could that be an option if Southgate leaves after the Euros? Alternatively, he's conquered England, he's conquered Spain. Could he go to Italy, the Serie A club, or maybe even to France PSG would want him in a heartbeat, wouldn't they?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he's ready for a national job yet. I think he will want his sabbatical. He likes that. He likes to spend time with his family. I think once his time at Man City is done, he'll definitely be away from football for about a year or so. We've seen it in the past. It seems to work well for him. I can't see why he'd change that little pattern he's got going, to be honest. As for national teams, you leave Gareth Southgate alone, and also I don't think he'd want a World Cup job yet. I think he's got a long managerial career ahead of him. I think later on in his career, when he's a bit less active, a bit less energetic, perhaps he'll take a slightly backward managerial role with the national team. Perhaps England can get him here for the next World Cup cycle.
I know this is a bit speculative, but if he did leave Man City, do you see someone like Mauricio Pochettino coming in? He's currently the favourite in the next Man City manager market at 6-4, which you can find on the sack race. We've got Nuno Santo there at 5-1, Patrick Vieira at 5-1 too, Brendan Rodgers at 11-2, but then there's Julian Nagelsmann 10-1, which I think looks like a fantastic bet. He's Germany's young, innovative manager. They're saying he could be the next Klopp. Would he be tempted by the job if that came up?
He'd love it, wouldn't he? He'd absolutely love that job. I think you've got to say Pochettino's the outright favourite, and for a good reason. I think Pochettino's next job, as I mentioned before, is going to be a big one. It's going to be a Bayern Munich, a Real Madrid, a Man United, a Man City. He's just waiting, taking his time, and he'll make the right choice. I think if Pep leaves, Pochettino would be a great choice. I think Nagelsmann perhaps, and this is even more speculative, is more likely to replace Klopp at Liverpool than Guardiola at Man City. And I think for Man City, for the last 5 years, or since Guardiola's got there, since Arteta's been involved with Man City, I was certain Arteta would be the man to replace Guardiola when he moved on. He'd get promoted to the first team job. However, obviously he's in charge of Arsenal now, so that's pretty much off the table, I think. He's doing well there, he's happy there. And I think Arteta in Arsenal is now the match made in heaven, and Man City will have to look elsewhere. If Guardiola leaves, I think Pochettino would be a good choice.
And finally, what are Man City winning this season? Do you think they're going to win the Champions League, Premier League, League Cup, FA Cup, or all four?
Yeah, I don't think City will have that good a season this year, to be honest. I think they probably won't win the Champions League. I think Bayern Munich are by far the strongest team in Europe, so I'd expect them to win that unless there's a big shock. And I don't think they'll win the Premier League either this season, actually. I think Liverpool are probably a little bit ahead of them still. I also think Spurs have started the season very well. They look like they could challenge for the title under Jose Mourinho. What a story that would be. So I think they'll be looking at the domestic cups at the moment, and that's not good enough for Manchester City, and it's not good enough for Pep Guardiola. So I think we could see a bit of a disappointing season for City this year, despite all the quality in their squad, and then a huge summer next season for Guardiola's last hurrah.
On to Section 3, and Mansfield Town have sacked or parted company amicably, as their statement says, with Graham Coughlan, who we spoke about in the previous episode. I mean, it wasn't looking great for him. He had no wins this season, no wins since March, just 4 wins in total in 27 games, and he's off 14% win rate. Mansfield are now looking for their 5th manager since 2018. First off, Simon, what is your reaction to this news?
I think we touched on it last week. It needed to improve. It didn't improve over the weekend, and the last result out, a 4-2 loss to Barrow. It was pretty difficult. They haven't won a game all season so far, only 5 points on the board from 9 games now, and they haven't won since March. And I know that's due to the coronavirus and them not playing, but it's not good for Mansfield. The money they've spent, that was part of Caroline Radford's statement when they did sack him, and Radford said basically they'd invested again a lot of money in the squad, as Mansfield always seem to do in League Two, and this season it's been even worse than last season at the moment, down hovering by the relegation places. And I think you give them a good few games, but changes eventually have to be made. So we'll wait and see what happens to the club for the rest of the season. It'll probably be a few weeks till we know whether it's the right decision or the wrong one. I would have probably given him 2 more games, taken it up to 10 games before I made that decision. But yeah, it was expected, wasn't it? If you don't get a win all season in the first 8 or 9 games, then you're likely to get sacked.
So Mansfield have been managed by Steve Evans, David Flitcroft, John Dempster and Graham Coughlan over the last couple of years. Who is their next manager going to be?
God, it's a big question, isn't it? There's a few decent names hovering around. I'd like to throw Torquay manager Gary Johnson into the mix. I mean, they're top of the National League at the minute, unbeaten, a flying start. And importantly, he's got Football League experience. He's experienced the divisions. He's last managed Cheltenham, I think, in the Football League. And he's been there, he's done it. I know he's got a bit of experience under his belt. I'm not sure if Mansfield will want to go for a younger, more exciting manager. If that's the case, Jack, what do you think about Sol Campbell getting the Mansfield job? Do you think they'll take a risk on him? Obviously, he's a big name in the sport. He said he wants a big job, and in League Two, this is a big job. He'll have a bit of money to spend, and instead of trying to keep a team in the division like he was at Southend and Macclesfield, if Sol Campbell gets the Mansfield job, they should be challenging for promotion.
That is a very interesting shout, Simon. Yeah, he obviously did well at Macclesfield when he was in the division before. He went up to League One with Southend, which was a sinking ship really, and didn't do well there. He's now out of work. So definitely that is one to keep an eye on. And I love the shout of the Torquay manager as well, Gary Johnson. So we'll see what happens there. Staying in League Two, Ian Everett has been in the headlines this week. He's come under fire for publicly telling his keeper to man up. Of course, his keeper then goes and saves a penalty as Bolton claim a rare win. What did you make of the comments originally when they came out over the weekend?
Yeah, over the weekend, pretty annoyed by them, to be honest. I think Everett had been coming under a lot of pressure and he didn't know quite how to react. But his apology, what he said in the follow-up to it, I think the man-up comment is stupid. It's a bit archaic. It's been linked to mental health problems and that's not good at all for a manager to be saying that and criticising one of his younger players like that. So yeah, I wasn't happy with his comments, but the way he came out, the way he's responded to it, he's taken full responsibility. He's acknowledged he's wrong. He's acknowledged he's on a learning curve as well. He's probably acknowledged he shouldn't say some stuff to the media. But then, having said that, the flip side of the coin is he's got the reaction he wanted. And he did say quite stubbornly after that game, after they got the win and after he saved a penalty, he was like, I gave him a kick up the arse and that's what he needed. But the man-up comments were wrong. He still stands by that. I think we all know those comments are wrong in this day and age. And Everett's got a lot of learning to do. Maybe this is just part of his learning curve. But they're off to but he got the win they wanted and the goalkeeper saved a penalty. So he got the reaction and all's good. Let's move on from Ian Everett saying man up.
Some would say effective man management, but there you go. Right, staying in League Two, Simon. We've had about a good amount of games now to see how each manager is performing. Is there anyone in particular that's impressed you the most so far?
It's easy to look at the top of the table and say who's impressed me so far, but Flynn at Newport County, Michael Flynn, we've loved him for years now. Michael Flynn, the Flynn dog. He is remarkable, and what he's done with this Newport team at the start of the season has been exceptional. They're top of the league, they're absolutely flying, they're scoring goals for fun. They got a win on Tuesday night with a last minute winner as well, and they just seem to be keeping on ticking over at the top of the table, getting important wins, playing that five at the back system, really looking good with the wing backs. Ryan Haynes on the left hand side is an exceptional talent going forward, and then they've got Patrick Amondu still scoring goals for them. He got the winner on Tuesday night. But Flynn, he seems to have got this squad together and they always like to play for him. But I don't think he or anyone would expect Newport County to be top of the table this early on.
I don't think Newport have played in the third tier since the 80s either. So that would be a fantastic achievement by Flynn Dog. Right, I would personally say my manager would be Mark Bonner. He's got Cambridge up to second at the moment. They're scoring an avalanche of goals and they're not conceding many either. And also Matt Taylor, Exeter, he's been there for a couple of years now, but I think he's just so consistent. He's doing a great job, and we'll see if this is the year that he can take them up to League One. Right, Simon, as always, thanks very much. And by this time next week, we'll see if Sol Campbell is the new Mansfield Town manager.